Welcome to the Fab Female Nutrition Podcast, episode 159. Hey there, I'm your host Wendy Hill, and I'm a nutritional therapist and expert in female hormone health. I specialise in helping women gain confidence and understanding their bodies, allowing them to shine. This podcast allows me to share the knowledge I've built up, along with bringing you guest experts to support you in your journey. Hey guys, how are you doing this week? We are mid-September. It's getting colder, it's getting darker. I definitely feel like winter is coming. Can you guess what kind of TV shows I watch? And I hope you've all had a wonderful summer. So today's podcast is called Menopause is Puberty in Reverse. And it's one of my more serious ones, I suppose. But it comes as a result of a conversation that I had with my friend Claire, and I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this. We ran a yoga retreat, a lovely yoga retreat at the very beginning of September. And on the journey, we are a very similar age. And on the journey in the car, we often end up talking about menopause, even though we say we're not going to. And on the way back, she said to me, "Oh, that thing you said to me about menopause just being puberty, I don't know if that was something that you made up or whether you heard it somewhere else, but that really resonated with me." And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm sure I didn't make it up. I'm sure my brain is not that clever. I'm sure I read it somewhere and it resonated with me as well. But I thought it was something that I talked about a lot and I'd sort of spoken to her about before. And clearly I hadn't. And I've known her a long time and see her fairly regularly. So I thought I would share that kind of nugget that worked for her and worked for me when I am thinking about actually perimenopause. It's not menopause, because menopause is the end, or the end of the cycle, shall we say. It is perimenopause is puberty. But you know what I'm saying. Perimenopause, that period is the same as puberty, and think about it in puberty in reverse. And in puberty, what happens is these hormones come in and out, and they aren't very cyclical. We can have an excess, a lack of some. Your cycle doesn't tend to be regular. Lots of girls will experience very heavy bleeding. They might experience period pains and things like that. And you think about it when you're going through puberty. Can you remember that real discomfort, that kind of not knowing? Very few kind of have that really regular cycle straight off. And this is all about the hormones setting themselves up, getting into a balance. It is like an orchestra, female sex hormones, and when they work together, they create a beautiful symphony. And when they don't work together, it is just a row and a clash. And this is what happens in puberty. Is our hormones start to work together. They start to understand the play, and we get this lovely kind of rise and fall. And as a mature, a woman, a fertile woman, we will have a approximately 28-day cycle. I'm not going to go into that too much. We can do that in a separate podcast episode, because this isn't about sort of puberty and a woman's cycle. This is more about the two periods at either end. So the puberty bit, it's trying to remind you what it was like when you were in puberty. How did you feel when you were in puberty? So you had these hormones all over the place. Your cycle wasn't regular. You might have got, more pain, more discomfort. This was as your body was getting used to those hormones and that cycle. And now we're going through similar, but in reverse. Our body is no longer producing those hormones. We no longer have that cycle, because we don't need to be fertile anymore. So it is that in reverse. And I say this because that's okay. We kind of know that, don't we? We know that, it's a lack of estrogen, that we hear this in the news all the time. This is why we have estrogen replacement therapy, HRT. But actually, what we forget to talk about is those emotional imbalances, and reminding you, and for her and for me, kind of just that going, God, yeah, I do remember actually. I remember for me, kind of puberty was definitely, a time of fear, not fear of my menstrual cycle, not fear of becoming a woman, just random fear that I don't know, fear of not fitting in, fear of being different. Kind of I'd come home from school and then overanalyze everything that happened in the day, be anxious that I might say the wrong thing, that I might laugh at the wrong thing, that I might walk into a room and conversations would be happening that I didn't understand. It was a scary time. I cried for no reason. I was angry, so angry. I remember being an angry, miserable teenager. And if you are now going, yeah, well, this is what is happening in menopause, but in reverse. So of course, we are going to be having irrational feelings because those sex hormones are whacking our body out of balance. And for guys or for ladies, if you are in a working environment and you have a lot of men there and you can have this conversation, or even just with your husbands, I would encourage you to have this conversation with them, to remind them that it is like puberty in reverse. Men don't have to go through this. Men's testosterone levels will drop slightly throughout their life, but it's just a very gentle process. Whereas talk to them about what it was like to be in puberty. Ask them how embarrassing it was when their voice started to break. This is like you getting a hot flush in the middle of a meeting. It would happen at the worst possible moment. Ask them what it was like to get a hard on when they just didn't expect to. What was that thing happening and why was it happening and how do I stop it happening? And that was what puberty was like for men. And if they remember that and you remind them nicely, I am sure they will be much more sympathetic to what is happening in your body now. And if you remind yourself and try and step back a little bit and remember that this is not forever, you are not going to feel like this forever. And you might have irrational anxiety. You might have difficulty sleeping. You might be over analyzing every blooming thing over and over again. And that's certainly how I know now. With hindsight, my perimenopause started was with this over-analyzing of everything, running scenarios through my head, each possible opportunity that might happen at work to, if he says that, how will I answer that? If he says that, how will I answer that? That was what happened to me. I didn't sleep for 5 years from over-analyzing things. But if you can remember that scared, unhappy, irrational teenager, that's all you are, but a 40-something woman, and it will come to an end. So to all ladies out there that are in the second puberty, just hold out, be strong. It will get better. That is it for this week, guys. Please join me next week. I hope you're well, stay safe, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you for watching this excerpt of this week's Fab Female Nutrition podcast. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, then the link is in the notes below.